Hail, Internet! It's Paul. It's Matt. The Dork Lords. We're here today talking about Secret Invasion. The Season 1 finale. Probably the series finale.
We can only hope.
Home. It wasn't called Hope, Paul. It was called Home.
Oh, darn it. We can only home.
We can only home. We open with Fury saying goodbye to Vara on the phone before seemingly invading the Skrull base. It turns out Gaia was actually invading the base. I assume Fury was making the call, but I guess, who knows? Anyway, we end with Fury kissing Vara, accepting her true form, and the two of them heading off up to the Saber space station together. So, that said, Paul.
Yes.
What'd you think of the Season 1 finale?
Again, I'm glad it's over.
Fair enough.
You know.
It has not apparently done well. Things like Rotten Tomato scores not great, viewership numbers down. It hasn't been that well received. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no. It failed as a spy series, and while I would normally be happy to have more Samuel Jackson, more Nick Fury, I didn't feel it was especially good Nick Fury story. So 4.5 maybe.
Oof.
But then I don't think I rated a single one before this. So
That's true. So you're saying, okay, 4.5, but how is it then, let's say, take numbers aside, compared to the rest of the series?
it's hard because it's sort of like you're hoping for it to get better than the previous ones. So the other ones were better because I had hope that this one wouldn't suck. So.
Got you. Well, we were constantly, I know I mentioned twice at least throughout this thing, like, hey, a lot will depend on how the ending, makes the rest of the choices seem clever or, whatever. And that didn't really pan out so well.
No.
And I guess in one way, the arc of the season is basically Fury arrives from Saber alone.
Right.
And he heads back to Saber with his wife.
Yeah.
In some ways it's like, we can leave it at that.
Yeah.
Fury finds love. I mean, he had it, but did he have it?
And to give credit to the story, I wouldn't have expected that. I think it would be easier if they had parted or she had died. So they didn't fridge her. So that's
true.
Good.
They did not. Theoretically, she's a part of the story. You would mention a theory that I think is a sound one about how this may or may not connect to the Marvels. Your thought is that maybe the Marvels movie is actually a prequel to the events of this show. So that because we see Fury seemingly by himself in space, we know that the villain of the Marvels is a Kree, and we hear here that let's say assuming the Marvels handle the Kree threat, that maybe that leads to the peace talks that gets referenced here. So Fury returns to Earth at the end, say, of the Marvels, setting up this show. But let's assume for a second that this is chronologically, the same. So in other words, it's Secret Invasion, and then theoretically in the timeline, a couple of months later, it's the events of the Marvels. If we don't see the wife up there, if we don't see Vara, it's a little weird, right? They're almost like, well, she was on the show, so we'll just skip. Or they don't even mention Gaia. You're like,
Or she becomes like Norm's wife, I guess,
Yeah, right. We always mention her, never see her. Anyway, we'll see how that pans out. But it's another one of those potential missteps of Disney Plus trying to show relevance to the movies. If they just drop this entirely, let's say, for the Marvels, it'd be like, okay, well, why did you even set this up?
Considering how, WandaVision led into Doctor Strange, even though I think the characters seem to be different than any other property in Doctor Strange of Wanda, still, though, the events followed.
Okay, fair enough. So we've got here the Super Skrull fight, Gravik versus Gaia, is kind of the main set piece of the episode. But it is short in terms of minutes. I would say that the episode really centers on the conversation between Gravik and what I'll call pretend Fury.
Sure.
And pretend Fury has some heartfelt words to say. For instance, realizing that within a couple of years, so this is in the mid-90s, whatever. Within a couple of years of searching for a new homeworld for the Skrulls, he realized it wasn't going to work out. And so he apparently knew that pre-blip, was like, this isn't going to work out, but what can I do? I don't want to...
Let me string all these people along. It's not like there are a million of them, so it's okay.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Had he known there were a million of them. So it is a heartfelt thing, and it was kind of giving an answer to, like, yeah, what was this situation with Fury, and why wasn't he giving them a homeworld? But when you then get the reveal that it's Gaia, it kind of calls all those comments into question. Like, are those true? Like, Fury hasn't been hooked up to a machine, as far as I'm. So those comments are Gaia trying to imagine how Fury would answer the question, I think.
Unless it's the part of a conversation they had that we didn't see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe we should have. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree. You're right. No. Yeah. It's like, if only. Yeah. I mean, afterwards, since they wanted to have this reveal, certainly one of those situations where it's like, are you really gaining so much from the surprise that, Nick Fury
you had this really meaningful conversation, and then you're like, was it real?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right. And that's the centerpiece of the episode.
And I was thinking, too, like, what if, like, they established, like, oh, she's got an earpiece, and then so Nick Fury was telling her what she would say. That might have saved it, even though it would seem weird.
It would, yeah. So anyway, it was one of those, like, okay, you've kind of undercut this moment by saying, it's not me. Like, okay.
Yeah.
We also get the reveal that we assumed we'd get, which is that we the real Rhodey and the real Ross get saved. There's speculation as to when those two got swapped.
Sure.
I don't know that we know for Ross. We'll just assume it was shortly prior to this series. For Rhodey, it's a little trickier just because, everybody seems to be wearing the same clothes they were when they got swapped.
Yeah.
And so with him in a medical gown, the last time we saw him in a medical gown was in Civil War.
Yeah, it's true.
But he's probably been in the hospital a lot over the years for his therapy, his rehab. I don't know. You're like, but if you were to take it just on face value, is that the hint you're trying to give us?
Yeah.
Then that means he would have been a Skrull for that long, which...
Wow.
Yeah, it's a wow if that's the case. Because then if you come into Armor Wars, you've got a Rhodey that didn't experience any of that stuff. Like, he wouldn't even know what any of that... I mean, he'd have to be told to read it in a book. I don't know. Anyway, it's a weird scenario if that's the case. I think it does make more sense if he was swapped shortly before the events of Falcon and Winter Soldier, because that's when we see him without the leg braces. Right. And that's still a while. That's still, I think, a couple of years in the timeline where he would have still been strapped to a machine. So, he would still been out of the game for a while, but still within the context of the MCU, it would be less, like, jarring.
Sure.
Like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
Maybe Armor Wars will tell us that information. Who knows? It does bring up, why don't they just drain these people for their memories and then kill them? I don't know.
Yeah, they could have gone into some more detail. I mean, there was so much that was just... hand waved, like, oh, I can change my face and my clothes. I can,
I was thinking of that when, upon realization it was Gaia, just watching her walk with, like, I don't know, did she have the actual outfit? I don't think she did. Like, she has Fury's coat, and I saw it, like, flapping in the wind a little bit, and I was thinking, when I thought about it later, I was like, it's another one of those, like, that's fine.
Yeah.
The illusion is perfect.
Yeah, I wish they had established, like, they're able to change their bodies, and really that means you're changing your mass and through your biology, cursory analysis, your body. But, like, maybe they had some tech that would change clothes or something,
I see what you mean. Kind of like Spider-Man and his web shooter.
Yeah,
the web. I got you. Yeah.
Or like Iron Man's outfit, he does like the
nanotech.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. Yeah,
because one of the things would have been nice is if because we were saying, like, okay, the only way you can seem to tell when these creatures are is then when they get injured. So the more rules there are, the more limits. Yeah. But that's good that there are limits, because then it makes for a more complex story, and that's more interesting. It's like if you feel like someone can just do anything, then it's like, okay, where's the suspense?
which is
Where's
a
the
Gaia
drama?
issue now.
Right.
But also the idea that Skrulls apparently can't tell other Skrulls apart. I think
Yeah.
that's the first time we've seen that, where a Skrull fools a Skrull.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wow,
Yeah.
okay. I don't know. I thought somehow, I don't know. Their vision, or they see a spectrum that they can figure out, but no, they don't.
No. That's one thing we didn't have. We should have somebody metamorphing from like, oh, I'm not the Skrull you think I am. I'm a different Skrull.
Yeah, right.
Talos pretending to be Gaia, sneaking in, learning stuff, sneaking back out.
Right. Easily could have, right?
Yeah.
And in fact, you would think then, now that we know this,
Yeah.
what's to say the Skrulls wouldn't have been super paranoid?
Yeah.
Like there's a sect of Skrulls that are like the rebels, and then there's a sect of Skrulls that are like Talos followers. Wait, how can I trust who you are, who you say you are? They have to shoot each other. Anyway.
Yeah, they could have had like at that meeting of the people who would take it over for the heads of state. Like, wait a minute, I don't think you're Selena. Like, oh no, I'm the maid. She said she was busy, so she sent me instead.
She sent me instead. I'm the proxy.
Yeah.
Skrull. But I was just thinking, and when I saw the number of people being kept, I'll call it in stasis. I don't know. Anyway, just the amount of effort that would be required to keep
and
this ever-growing number of comatose people alive.
What was the significance of having that?
Well, I mean, in terms of like keeping them alive, and then you can just go boop. Is that
no?
You can just instantly solve the problem. You're saying why have them? Okay.
No, yeah, I'm saying like okay, so you had the situation where okay, good, Rhodey and
Ross
are freed. Okay, fine, but here's this other place where there are a lot more. What the fuck is the purpose of that?
Yeah, I mean, they were, part of the whole thing was like, well, if you bomb the Skrulls, you'll bomb all these innocent people. Of course, you would think just having a few innocent people would be maybe enough, but they're like, no, but there's more. So see, there were a lot of people that would have died. So I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah, you're right. I'm not sure what they gained narratively out of having that many people having been turned, except to say like it's scary. I guess. Thing that bothered me after. The whole plan comes together, and you're like, oh, okay, it's Gaia. Oh, and then she got the powers, and then they fought. And it's like, that plan is so insanely risky.
Yeah.
As Tony Stark would say, not a good plan. It's like, give Gravik the harvest. Assume he'll leave Fake Fury in the machine with him. Get the same powers as Gravik. Then fight him in a fair one-on-one fight and hope you master the powers faster than Gravik.
Yeah.
Why would you? I mean, the stakes of making Gravik an Omega-level supervillain on the hope that you can then deal with him after you've made him this incredibly powerful. It's just it's a non-starter. I mean, no. I'm on the planning committee. No, we're not doing that, guys.
Well, you could say that it's paired with they wanted Gravik to think their plan was because Nick Fury is just there dying from radiation poisoning, seemingly like, and here's everything you wanted. So please leave, even though I've got no bargaining, no leverage to make you leave the planet. Except
and you
giving
just
you
told
this
me you want to kill everyone.
Kill me without the powers. You could kill me.
Yeah. No, well, and then supposedly the need for this deal, like, oh my God. We have to make this deal because otherwise this bomb is going to go off and blow up all the people. But that gets solved by Fury, the real Fury, unconnected to this fight. So it wasn't like, we have to have Gravik approve the harvest and then push stop on the bombing or whatever. And no, that's not what happens.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even necessary. You could have given him water. And then he could have been like, I'm upset with you, but you wasted enough time that the real Fury got the job done. Whatever. Anyway, it was a dumb idea to give him a bunch of powers and then hope you can beat him. That's all. I'm going to run off really fast. I'm just going to say them. Gaia has now the powers of 22 different super-powered entities.
Yeah.
Some of them, like, top level super-powered entities.
Sure.
So, okay. It's Ghost, Captain America, Corvus Glaive, Thanos, Outrider, Proxima Midnight, Captain Marvel, Abomination, Mantis, Drax, Korg, Ebony Maw, Hulk, the Chitauri, Valkyrie, Thor, Gamora, Winter Soldier, Cull Obsidian, a Frost Beast, Groot, and of course the Extremis powers. Okay. What, 4 powers weren't enough?
Yeah, no, they weren't. More. Give me more.
So we see that Gaia is now working with Sonia, Olivia, the actress
Sonia,
on behalf of the British. She is just OP. I mean, I just can't believe this is the new status quo for the MCU, though. Like, surely there's a catch. Either maybe she becomes a daunting villain. Maybe this is the villain origin for her, and then now no one can stop her because she's got all their powers.
I don't know why you think that we're going to see her again.
Okay. Like, that's what I'm saying. Maybe they just pretend she doesn't exist because it's a Disney Plus show.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think you have to say Disney Plus. Just, she's just not around. Or
just not
whenever
around.
she is, she's associated with this story. So,
yeah.
The
we get
Armor
some line
Wars,
of dialogue.
I don't think Armor Wars is especially involved with this story. I might be wrong, but...
Only in that Rhodey will be freshly brought back after having been, captured by the Skrull for so long.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that you would think that would somehow impact his thoughts and choices in the show. But maybe
yeah, I would think. In terms of Gaia, Thor's not around all the time either. Captain Marvel's really powerful. Captain Marvel's not around, so
I got you. No, you're right. She just happens to be as powerful, more powerful than anyone else.
It just tells you, really, the fact that no one has said, maybe they have, but I don't think they have, this character matches up with someone from the comics. I think I would have heard.
Yeah, it's just it's an odd choice, and especially if they're not going to go with it, and they're just going to leave it, and you're like, wait, what?
Well, to me, the fact that there's no comic book counterpart just says that, okay, it's not to be taken seriously.
I got you. They wanted to do the punch, fight,
yep.
And they did it.
Yeah.
And the graphic wasn't that super. He got killed off.
Yeah.
Why do we think Fury collected the harvest? I mean, did he just want to have the ability to clone the Avengers in case they got killed? Is that the idea, or?
Yeah, I don't know. I think somebody's suggested that has something to do with, or at least reminds them in some way of Batman, who you're like,
oh right,
he had to be able to defeat any of the people that he was working with.
Yeah. As you say it out
hey,
loud,
buddy.
It's like, huh?
I mean, I do that with you,
Right. No, exactly. Paul, I've got the perfect scenario for... I just pretend I have audio problems and I watch you get frustrated.
Yeah.
He hulked out! Yeah, so anyway, it's an interesting... They don't really address it in this. They're just like, he collected it. That's what he did. Okay. We get this kind of major development that the President Ritson, announces this bill that designates all off-world born species enemy combatants.
Yeah.
And he says, we will kill every last one of you. So it's like, whoa, okay, all right then. That, brings into mind, New Asgard is just hanging out there.
Yeah.
There are lots of, the MCU's introduced a lot of off-world folks, so will that get addressed? Are you literally going to go around try to wipe out non-Skrulls? Because he mentions the Skrulls, and then he's like, all off-world, okay,
yeah.
All right, we're going there then.
Yeah.
And then he orders these hit squads, or I don't know if he orders them, but hit squads start wreaking havoc and killing Skrulls and potentially people they think are Skrulls, so there's a lot of chaos that way.
Mm-hmm.
I assume that state of events will translate into something when we get the idea that a new president's coming, Fury does say, enjoy being a one-term president, or whatever, because we know that Harrison Ford's coming in.
For Captain America.
Yeah. As the Thunderbolt Ross becomes president is the idea. I think that's the idea. I had higher hopes for this season, I think, than you did. And by the way, there's no end credit scene either. They didn't do the typical MCU we're tying it to something. So yeah, it just I don't know. The show did not click,
No,
and
no.
it just wasn't as successful an espionage show as it wanted to be, and it's a shame. I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint one thing and say like if you'd have done that. But yeah, I guess the writing wasn't strong enough to hold up the storyline that they chose.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not feeling that great about the Marvel TV shows. One show shouldn't bring down the whole segment, but um, you want to feel really good about the things that have come in the past. Like, when I think back to the movies, Civil War still holds up. Captain America, Winter Soldier holds up. All the Avengers end games and all that, even the ones that weren't great, like Ultron and all that, they still have their appeal. But I haven't even been able to revisit Loki with it's sort of like once it's over, it's the
I got you. Kind
flaws.
of disposable kind of thing.
Yeah, the flaws end up being more distracting. It's not like those moments that I really want to go back for. So yeah, I think their philosophy of let's just make these TV shows be long movies, it doesn't work. They need
Yeah.
to get someone who understands television and actually builds up shows that are like TV shows and not long movies.
Agreed. And they've got this thing coming. Eventually Daredevil is going to be a show
Yeah, yeah,
on the MCU, and one of the things that I've heard them say is like, well, we want to distance ourselves from the Netflix Daredevil, and I'm like, why?
yeah, yeah,
That show was awesome, but anyway.
yeah.
So if you're gonna put yourself in direct comparison to that show,
Yeah, yeah. One thing I was telling you in terms of like, you want to make sure you have someone who understands television who has a vision. The Russo brothers had a vision. John Favreau had a vision. They're getting these people that maybe they have a vision, but they're not known for it. They need to
yeah,
be finding people who know television, who can work in television, and can do the stories for television. Someone who has a vision, who has a history of bringing that to life, and not just, you know, caretaking some show that's on cable.
agreed. Yeah, treat it less like we need content, and more like hey, this is an art project.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah,
So anyway, yeah. Unfortunately, this show will not go down as like one of the greatest
no,
MCU Disney Plus
no,
shows. So.
no, no.
So anyway, we'll be back talking about Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. Got a couple episodes left for season 2,
Yep.
and we'll be back doing that. Thanks so
All
much,
right.
Paul. Appreciate
No,
it, good
you're
sir.
welcome. No problem.
And we'll talk to everybody next time.
Bye.
Bye.